I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also thank you in your capacity as chair of the 1540 committee for your comprehensive briefing on the committee's work. As we gather today, over 20 years after the adoption of the Resolution 1540, Algeria reaffirms its unwavering commitment to this pillar of the global non-proliferation architecture. Mr. President, the threat of weapons of mass destruction falling into the hands of non-state actors remains as real today as it was 2 decades ago. This threat has evolved and intensified. Rapid technological advancement, including artificial intelligence, creates new challenges that demand our collective vigilance and action. Algeria commends the committee's sustained efforts in promoting universal implementation of the resolution. We note with satisfaction that 185 member states have now submitted their first national reports, demonstrating strong global commitments to our shared objectives. We particularly welcome the continued engagement reflected in designation of 156 national points of contact and the submission of 48 voluntary national implementation action plans. However, Mr. President, we must acknowledge that challenges persist. Several member states have yet to submit their initial reports, and significant implementation gaps remain across different regions. This underscores the critical importance of the targeted technical assistance and capacity building, particularly for developing countries. In this regard, Algeria stressed the high priority that should be given to the following areas. First, maintaining the delicate balance between legitimate peaceful use of technology and other materials for development and socio-economic progress, and the imperative to prevent their misuse by non-state actors. The right to access technologies for peaceful purpose must be safeguarded without discrimination. Second, ensuring that implementation efforts do not create unnecessary burdens or overlapping obligations, especially for developing countries. Sustainable implementation requires national ownership and practical, targeted support rather than one-size-fits-all approaches. Third, strengthening cooperation between the committee and regional organizations. We call for enhanced partnerships with relevant mechanisms, including the Pilindaba Treaty Framework and the African Convention on Prevention and Combating Terrorism. Fourth, Algeria appreciates the committee's effort to modernize its assistance mechanism, as reflected in the revised procedures adopted in November 2024. However, we stress that the committee would benefit from dedicated financial resources to provide specific technical assistance. Mr. President, we cannot ignore the operational challenges that have emerged this year. The unprecedented delay in appointing subsidiary body chairs has significantly impacted the Council's work, including the 1540 Committee. Such delays risk undermining the effectiveness of our collective security mechanism at a time when we can least afford it. Mr. President, as we look ahead, Algeria remains firmly committed to the complete elimination of all weapons of mass destruction, nuclear, chemical, and biological. We view Resolution 1540 not as an end in itself, but as part of a broader disarmament architecture aimed at creating a world free from the threat of these weapons. The growth of criminal networks across international borders and the persistent threat of terrorism demand that we strengthen our collective response. This requires sustained political will, enhanced international cooperation, and consistent support for the Committee's mandate. In conclusion, Algeria stands ready to work constructively with all partners to advance the full implementation of Resolution 1540. Together, we must ensure that this vital resolution continues to serve as an effective barrier against the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and deter their threat to international peace and security. The stakes are too high and the consequences too grave for anything less than our complete commitment to this shared endeavor. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Algeria for his statement.